Simple as that, right? Work, give, and don't consume. God wants you to pass things through. It's interesting when you think about money and God. Money is a currency. It never stops flowing. God's a creator. It never stops creating. Right? So ask yourself, am I ready to do this? Am I ready to put my foot down and get mad at myself and check yourself saying, hey, listen, this is not the person I want to be in 5 years or 10 years. Because I don't care if you're making $30,000 today or $5,000 a year. The problem just gets enhanced with more money. You know, in college, I only made, $30,000 a year because I was working full time. And I had rental properties and guys paying rent that lived with me. So I had a lot of cash. But I spent it. I wasted it. I wasted a lot of money. But I learned from that. Same problem after college. I took a contractor job and took another job that moved me out to Western U.S. and made a lot of money. And I spent more than I made. Didn't learn my lesson. Finally, I got back to my roots and kind of resettled, and then I got distracted again. And you know what kept me from staying the course? Is I didn't have God at the head of it. I wasn't following God's plan. What does God want us to do? He wants us to love. He wants us to give. He wants us to work, right? God wants us to work. If you're not working 6 days a week, are you being faithful? You're supposed to rest on Sunday. God works 6 days a week. God wants us to have organization. He wants us to have our households organized. He wants us to be organized. Just because you don't have something doesn't mean you can't take care of what you do have. And it's so true. How is God going to trust you with more if you can't take care of what you already have? How can God trust you with more if you can't take care of what you already have? Meaning, hey, I got a job, I make 20 grand a year, or I got an extra $400 a month, let's go spend it. If you can't control your habits, if you can't control your mind, if you can't align your goals with what you're hearing God wants you to do, and if you're not a believer in God, then you have to have something to keep you in order. If you're not a believer in God, then you should talk to one of us after this and ask us about Jesus and why. So the first thing that you have to do, you have to do this, because we all need a way to check ourselves. You need to go back and pull at least 3 months worth of all your expenditures. Does anybody pay cash for everything? Okay. If you do pay cash, there's a couple of you, you're going to have to track that. And there's an easy way to do that. You can budget how much you think you're going to spend in each category that you spend and put those in envelopes. Dave Ramsey created an envelope system, which is really cool because money in the actual, like handing over a Benjamin Franklin at a restaurant and getting, a couple of Jacksons back hurts. Swiping a debit card doesn't hurt as bad. I'm not saying you don't have to, move over to cash only, but if you are cash only, it's going to be difficult because you're going to have to start tracking now going forward to understand where you're spending your money, because cash disappears really fast. Like, oh, I just had that. Well, now I have 50 cents in my pocket. Where did that 20 go? You need to be able to track that. The nice thing, if you do use credit cards, unfortunately, to live on, and debit cards, you can pull down those bank statements and export those out to an Excel file or drop them into a Google Sheets. So you need 3 months worth of expenses in order to understand a quarter of your habits for that year. If you're really diligent and you really want to understand where your spending habits are, you'll do a whole year. when you download all those expenses, then you need to categorize them and group them by where your priorities are. So the number one priority, wherever your money goes, any money you make, you need to give 10% to God. Okay? The second priority is your shelter. So how much are you spending on your shelter? And you can lump these in together if you want. You could put your home, your gas, your electric, and your water, trash. Those are the most important things. Then your food, right? So when we talk about creating a monthly budget, because you have to have a budget in order to find money to pay off debt. So, God living means your household, what it takes to have your house available to live in. Electric, water, gas, trash in your home. Because you have to have somewhere to rest your head. Food. You have to have food to eat. From there, everything else should fall in categories that you need to figure out how to eliminate. Meaning student debt, meaning car payments, eating out like crazy, quick trip runs. I still have to check myself. I've been on this big journey to pay all this debt off this past year and a half. And just the other day I was like, okay, I feel like I'm getting out of whack. I pulled my monthly report and I saw I was spending $180 a month in Quick Trip for the last 3 months. I knew it was kind of getting out of control, and that's not gas. $180 a month at Quick Trip runs. You think that's smart? Yeah, maybe. The bangs help me be awake and speak and think and do and act. But do I really need them? Or could I use $200 a month to fund another project? Could I give half of that to a charity organization? At the church the other day, they were talking about for $5 you could give kids in China a Bible that has not been edited by the Chinese government, right? So that's 30 Bibles, right? I could have given away if I'd spent $150 on that instead of Quick Trip runs. So you just have to get your heart in tune with God, but understanding where all your money is being spent. So you need to go through line item by line item, group them together, so you can have eating out. If you have categories that keep showing up, like Starbucks or Quick Trip or Banana Republic or whatever it may be, figure out where you're spending your money each and every month, and if there's a trend. This is your map. In order to go somewhere, you have to know where you're at. You guys that came here tonight left someplace and drove here. If you didn't know where you're at, how would you know what direction to drive to get to this place? You can't get out of debt until you know where you're at. And you've got to face it. It's got to get ugly. So the first part is you need to know where you're spending your money.